Welcome to Try Not to Overthink It, where we explore the intricate landscape of mental health, well-being, and everyday life. I'm RJ.
And I'm Khalil.
Join us as we dive into insightful conversations, expert perspectives, and personal stories that shed light on the various dimensions of mental wellness. Whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or a deeper understanding of the human mind, this podcast is your safe space to engage, learn, and navigate the journey to a happier, healthier self. So today we are going to speak on the subject of being a high-value man. So for most of us who have been on the internet for longer than a couple of days, you see this subject all over the internet. You know, it's a highly divisive conversation and topic because everyone, high value man, the man's a prize, X, Y, and Z. And then when you hear people break down what makes someone a high value man, they never unpack it fully. They talk about a man having a certain net worth, property, homes, cars, but it's never really truly unpacked because there's more to being valuable than actual things that you can actually put your hands on. So I thought it was important for us, myself and Khalil being, high value men, to sit down and have this conversation and unpack this topic and share it with our listeners. If this is your first time here, we'd say thank you for checking us out. We hope that you'll stay and become part of the tribe and part of the family. For those of you who are already a part of the tribe and already part of the family, we appreciate your support. We love you. Please like, share, subscribe, turn your notifications on, comment, because it helps the YouTube algorithm. Also, the social media accounts will be linked in the description below this video. But back onto the topic. I mean, for me, I am appalled for the most part. Like when I hear these conversations about what a high value man is, when I hear men use that designation to shame or belittle or degrade women. And then even where you have women who will go on dating shows like Kendra G, and their equivalent, what they're equating to a high value man is he's got to make over X amount of dollars per year. Not that he's respectful, not that he's honorable, not that if he has kids, he's taking care of his kids.
Right.
Not that he's family oriented or he's in the church or he's a pillar of his community. Those things are always things that are left out. It's always just the financial things or the tangible things. But I've met plenty of people, as we've seen on the internet recently, with this whole Diddy situation, where someone can financially be high value, but then be morally bankrupt in engaging in things and doing things that, as real men, we don't condone. And so I thought it was important for, as I said earlier, for Khalil and I to kind of unpack this topic and kind of address it, because I don't want younger men to grow up thinking that the only thing you have to do is have a whole bunch of money in your bank account. You don't have to have anything else.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Khalil?
Well, recently, it almost really made me upset when I saw Simone Biles having to defend her husband, Jonathan Owens, football player, for saying that, he was the catch. And all of a sudden, like, the internet went, rage, talking about leave him, and the issue is, right, she defended her husband and she stood up. And she was like, my husband is a catch. The things that he does for me, character-wise, those type of things stand out to me. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I'd rather be with him than some other person, right? So I was very upset when I saw the way they were coming for her, right? You're telling somebody who is in love with their husband and their husband isn't cheating on him. There's no scandals running. He's not beating on her, right? Not cheating on her, not beating on her. And because he said he's a catch, now all of a sudden she should leave him, right? And he does provide. Obviously, the man is working. He's a football player. He's working right now, right? Those types of things let me know that our society is being brainwashed. Value does not come from monetary, what you make. Value to me comes from what you have inside. Because I can give you all the money in the world, right? And it still doesn't mean you have integrity.
Absolutely.
Still doesn't mean you have a good character. Still doesn't mean that after I gave you this money, you're going to do what's right with it.
that you have standards.
Standards, right? So, that's very sad that especially young men, young women, they think that money solves everything. You've seen plenty of famous, well-to-do people who have large, copious amounts of money found dead in their hotel room from
Mm-hmm.
an overdose, from a
Mm-hmm.
suicide, a hanging, whatever they wanted to do, because they were not happy. Money doesn't buy happiness. And
It
if
does
that's what
not.
you think, right, there's a problem. And young African American men and women, and any man, any woman, right? I don't care what culture you're from. If you're here in America and you're thinking that that's the only thing that brings you value, your job doesn't even bring you value, right? I'm more than my job. First of all, I'm a child of God. I'm worth more than gold. That's what the word says. But even besides that, my character is what I have. I don't I don't have anything else really. Your character, your word, like they said, your word is your bond. You don't have much else. That integrity,
Absolutely.
right? If people know they can come to me and ask me to do something and I do it, that gives me a lot more value than the person who's got all this money that won't do anything for you. Think about that. You know, it upsets
So I
me.
mean, I so the thing about it though is like when it comes down to being a man of high standards and high value, it involves doing things like being ambitious, setting goals, maintaining excellence in all areas of your life,
Yeah,
and refusing to settle for just being basic and ordinary. I
right.
mean, the thing about it though is like what society is pushing now is that it's, there's, flash but no substance.
Hmm.
Where as long as I'm putting on this facade of looking this way and being this way, but I don't really stand on anything. I really have no principles. I really have no morals. I really have no values. I don't stand on business. Again, it pushes the wrong thing. And I think that for a lot of us, what we tend to do, what we're easily attracted to for most of us, is the flashy stuff.
Right.
The fireworks, the boom, the pow, without really understanding what goes into what's creating the boom and the pow. We want to shine, but we don't want to grind. And I
Mm.
mean, for me, as a man, and having my father in my life consistently, my father showed me what right looked like. My
Right.
father was invested in me being the best man that I could be. And so in my father being in my life consistently, I saw what right looked like. Because you tend to do what is normalized for you.
Hmm.
Excuse me. You tend to also do what you see consistently. So when I consistently see my father be honest, when I consistently see my father raise his children, when I consistently see my father go and work a job every day, when I consistently see
Right.
my father be involved in his community, when I consistently see my father be involved in church, push doing the right thing because the right thing is supposed to be done all the time, not just when you
Not
feel
just
like it,
right.
not
Right.
not when it's convenient for you. I am more likely to do those things too. And so those are things that as a high value man, you don't really see that nowadays. You don't really see that because we push different things now. So
It's a
now
different narrative that's pushed.
we push getting money. We push chasing girls. We push having the fancy car. We push, having the fancy watch, having the fancy clothes, all the jewelry, and the different things like that. But those things can't get you into heaven.
Right.
They sure as hell can't go with you into the grave. So you spend all your time chasing the wrong things that will add no value, no real value to your overall life. But
Hmm.
then we use that to denigrate and degrade our female counterparts by saying, hey, because I have this money, if you don't have this amount of money as me, then that makes you lesser value than me.
Right.
Because if you, when I hear men claim themselves to be high value and they're speaking to women as anybody that is high value, they elevate those around them. They don't tear them down and they don't push them down. So as a man that is high value, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to uplift those around because I want to leave the world in a better state than when I received it.
Right.
So what that looks like is if I'm interested in a woman. I'm not going to clown her because she doesn't have the things that I have. She hasn't achieved the things that I've achieved. She hasn't earned the things that I haven't earned. That doesn't make her less than because she hasn't achieved those things. You know, me being high value, I say, "Hey, my queen, what can I
How can I help
how
build
can
you
we
up?
elevate together?
Right. You should be building your partner up.
How can we grow together?" That is what a high value man does. A high value man sees, excuse me, the weaknesses or the deficiencies of others and looks to add to them and build them up and empower and inspire them to be the best versions of themselves
Right.
rather than lord it over someone else and I'm better than you.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, and then we get to see when people are in relationships, right? And one values themselves more than the other because they're not in a partnership, right? You end up talking
Mm-hmm.
down to that person anyway. So you get
Absolutely.
somebody who's doing so well, they're high value, they do this, they do that, they make this amount of money, right? But their character is not where it's supposed to be, right? They have low character, right? When we talk about the people with the lower vibrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're in a situation like that, and most women will quote me on this, that I know I'm talking about some real good stuff. If that person doesn't value you as a partner, as somebody who can contribute, they're usually going to talk down to you and disrespect you. And it goes male to female, female to male. It's vice versa. It doesn't matter who it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually, and for those of you who've even worked for people like this, right? If they don't value your worth, they're going to tear you down verbally, sometimes physically, emotionally, and they're not going to build you up. So you're looking for something that does not exist. All right. Money does not equal good character. We've got to remember those things when you're chasing and pursuing that. But what RJ was talking about earlier, was taken from Jean Piaget. He says that, not just children, but people are almost always subjected to their environment, right? And so
Absolutely.
yeah, modeling occurs even when you don't even realize it. Subconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
you model the behaviors of the people around you, right? That's why they tell you, if you're around a flock of criminals, right? Hey, bad company corrupts good morals. You're going to end up following down that line. And it might not be that, oh, all of a sudden you're out here robbing stores, liquor stores, right? Nobody's saying that. But if I'm around people doing that all the time, eventually a lot of that dirty money's going to come my way. And if,
Absolutely.
and if you don't have good character, right, you're going to accept that money. You might even wash the money for them. Oh, you have a job. Let me run it through your company. You just don't understand any who's putting themselves in a situation, all right, where that's what you're modeling, right? Oh, that person's, he's got money and he talks down to people. He treat because everybody respects him. So, he'll smack you in the face. He'll do this, he'll do that. And that's what you're respecting. Then eventually you're going to model that behavior. I don't care how much money you have, that type of character trait you've picked up on because you've seen it. All right. You have to be modeling people who are, I know we call them lames because they do 9 to 5s. They put their money in the 401k, they invest in a Roth IRA, and they watch their money slow grow. And they're not running around buying flashy jewelries and rings, but they're more financially stable than the person who's just blowing money fast. Right.
Absolutely.
And in the long
I,
run, you probably want to be hanging with that person
mm-hmm.
because fast money doesn't live long. You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
It goes so quick. So when you're talking about somebody of high value, you cannot equate that to money, to finances, to monetary. You have to equate that to how a person lives, right? The things that they actually do, not things that they say, but the things that they actually do, action. Over time, when you're around people who are of very high character, I remember working with a gentleman. He was very high character, and he always took care of his wife, his family, and just some of the things that I saw from him. I got to ask him some questions, and I remember just kind of listening and being like, "Man, um, it seems like there's no chinks in his armor. What? How's this guy doing this?" But when you talk to him, he comes from a long line of stand-up guys, people who took care of their families, people who loved on their children, people who were involved in the community. And you start seeing the difference because he modeled people that were doing respectful things in the community, people that were actually putting in effort with the younger children, passing that down to other people. You get to see the difference. I can't really say it enough, but if you haven't seen any of that stuff growing up, it's very hard to be it. We talk about it all the time in these different episodes. You got to see it.
Well, I mean, it goes what we both were just touching on is personal values.
Mhm.
You know, your personal values drive you to maintain high standards in all aspects of your life.
Right.
Such as relationships, work, as well as even personal development. That is what is going to keep you on the right track. Your personal values are what is going to keep you on track, despite the distractions,
Right.
despite what everybody else may be doing, or what everybody else may not be doing. Because I have this conversation with my employees at work all the time. They're quick to, well, this person don't do this. Well, you have no control over what anybody else does.
Right.
But you know what you have control over? You have control over you. So just because they're being unprofessional or they're not doing their job doesn't mean that you don't do yours. So for us who are, labeling ourselves as high value men, we have to have a high moral values.
Right.
We have to have high standards. We have to hold ourselves accountable. So when you are falling short, you are keeping yourself on track. The problem that for most of us that we have when it comes to being high value or being a man of high standards is actual self-discipline and accountability.
Right.
There
No accountability,
has to,
right?
you have to maintain in order to maintain high standards, you have to be accountable. There has to be some sort of self-discipline and accountability, meaning that you have to hold yourself accountable for the standards and and what you are hoping to achieve, because this is what's going to help you grow and be successful. If you're just out here moving loosey goosey and just doing your own thing,
Mhm.
and not being accountable to anybody or anything, you're not high value. You're not. As we saw, like I alluded to earlier, as we saw with Diddy when that video hit the internet. My man's out here, because people tend to do what they feel comfortable doing.
Right.
What they've done before.
What they've done before.
And so in watching and so when I'm watching that video, he felt like, I'm pretty sure you are fully aware that there's cameras everywhere in this hotel. There's not many places nowadays that you go to that there's not a camera.
Everywhere.
There's cameras everywhere. So you felt comfortable enough, beating her like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like kicking her and slamming her and grabbing her. He felt comfortable doing
it. And he knew there was no repercussions. I'm surprised he didn't steal the tape.
The thing is, he felt, because I am who I am, and I've got money, I can just pay and make this go away.
I can make it go away. Right.
I'm and so for me, like you and I were talking before, off camera, there were people who were around him that knew this was going on.
Right.
And someone should have held him accountable. If you're in this man's circle and you see this man doing things that he has no business doing, someone should have said something.
Right.
Because in order for evil to triumph, the good man to stand by and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't claim yourself to be a high value or good man when you stand by and watch this man put his hands on that woman like that. Like, that's the bigger issue in this whole situation, is the fact that nobody held him accountable. People whispered about it. There were rumors about it. But in regards to actually addressing it with this man and trying to, hey, that's not the move to make. We ain't doing that.
Right. Somebody in his camp should have intervened. Right.
Yes. But absolutely.
But the problem is, we were talking about it earlier. They view money as the standard. All right. That's the gold standard, the money. Well, especially if you're on a payroll, right? You get what I'm saying? So you're willing to sell your soul. There's a lot of people that are willing to sell their soul to not say anything. Well, I want to stay on this payroll. I can't say nothing to Diddy.
Well, so the thing that I also see as well not just the lack of accountability and lack of self-discipline, is you see people not necessarily seek to continuously improve.
Yeah.
Those, basic principle of Darwinism is those who fail to adapt and evolve with their environment slowly become extinct. So if you don't grow, you're not looking to change, you're not looking to evolve, you're not looking to elevate, you're not looking to flourish, eventually you will wither and die. As a high value man, you have to constantly be seeking to be the best version of yourself. Tomorrow has to be better than today, has to be better than the day before that, has to be better than the day before that. You have to seek the knowledge. You have to surround yourselves with the right people. Like Unique, she's talked about that a couple of times on the podcast, where when it came time for her to get married, she recognized, I can no longer just hang out with single people and expect to be married.
Right.
And be successful in that next phase of my life. I have to surround myself with people. I have to surround myself with people who already are where I'm hoping to be, in order so I can learn those skills. I was just having this conversation with one of my employees, as a matter of fact, yesterday evening. She's in nursing school. So she's in nursing school. So she's in nursing school. So I'm like, you work with 3 different nurses with 3 different fields of experience. Why are you not asking questions?
Right. You should be picking their brain every day.
You have an advantage that none of your other classmates have. Your other classmates have no mentorship. You got 3 built-in mentors right here, where there's going to be something that you've never seen before, but between the 3 of them, one's an ICU nurse, one's a cardiac nurse, and another one's an emergency room nurse. So between the 3 of them, they done seen a lot of different things.
Right.
So taking the time to seek out the knowledge, seek out the new skills, seek out something new that is going to help propel you into being the best version of yourself. But for a lot of us, because we only know what we know,
right,
and we only want to do what we feel comfortable doing. And so because we only know what we know, and we only want to do what we feel comfortable doing, a lot of us get lazy and we get complacent.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, and I have this conversation with people all the time, if you are looking to have things you've never had, you got to be willing to do ththings you've never done. Because if not, you can't then complain about why you are not in the spot.
Look,
because people ask me all the time, how did you get to where you got to? I was willing to do things that you weren't willing to do.
Right.
I was willing to work harder. I was willing to study harder. I was willing to go further than you. I was willing to take on additional taskings, put myself in situations, certain conversations, certain avenues, certain arenas, certain rooms that put me in position for what God had intended for me.
Right.
But if I was content with just being a bare minimum boy,
average,
as my man Joe Budden likes to say, the bare minimum boy, you only gonna get bare minimum results.
Right.
So many of us, when it comes to reaching our full potential, we are the gatekeeper for ourselves. We blocking the gate.
Right.
Ain't nobody else blocking the gate. We blocking the gate.
Well, that's because we were talking about it. We had talked about it before. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable, right? You talk to any therapist, they're going to tell you that if you want to grow, right, you're going to have to do some things that you didn't do before, and you're going to have to go through that fear, right, of the unknown, and you're going to have to go through some uncomfortable stages. RJ was talking about some real stuff right there. To get to where you want to be, especially in the mental health field, there's some things you don't want to have to do, but you're going to have to do it.
Absolutely.
Right. I didn't want to.
You have to thug it out.
In order for me to learn a psychiatric diagnosis, I had to work at a psych hospital. Right. In order for me to work at a psych hospital, sometimes I had to clean up urine. In order for me to be able to spend that one-on-one time with people in active psychosis, I had to have a few people come after me. Right. They tried to hurt me. Right. But in order for me to learn what real mental health is, right? If I wanted to know what a real schizophrenic looked like, I had to work with one while they were going through a psychotic episode. All right. It's like the people who tell you what's fake and what's real out of $100 bill, right? The people who deal with counterfeits, right? They spend their time around the real deal. So when the fake comes around, they know how to diagnose it, right? Same thing with us, right?
Absolutely.
When I had these friends, I have friends I went to school with, did not want to play with the psychiatric facility. So now, 5-6 years later, I'm thinking in my mind, right? You didn't want to go to the psych facility, but yet you're diagnosing people, and you've never seen a psychiatric break. That's scary to me, right? Because you have to be willing to do some things. And I learned a lot of that stuff from RJ because I wanted to leave the psychiatric hospital. And he was like, no, you need to stay here so you can see something. You need to see what's going on here because you ain't going to get to see that everywhere else. You're going to have to be.
No, you're not.
Right.
And I mean, the thing that most of us, and this is where, like I alluded to it earlier, when you see right being done, you tend to follow that.
Yeah.
And so for most of us, when we like to throw out that title of being high value, you got to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
Got to lead by example. Like you said, you and I had that conversation. I'm like, yo, you need to stay here, and this is why you need to stay here.
Right. Get this experience.
You need to get this experience. The reason why I had that conversation with you is because someone had that conversation with me. The thing is, like when we're talking about moving in a certain direction and being quote unquote high value, you have to model what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to, like I'll use my father, for example. My father, because my father has been an active, consistent, and contributing, force in my life, my entire life. There's things that I do because I seen him do it. Right. Not because it was my idea, because I seen him do it. Open the door for a woman. I see my father do that. Now I just do it automatically. Right. The car door, the door to the restaurant, the door to the store, I'm doing it. Walking on the side closest to the street. Right. I've seen my father do that. So guess what? I do that.
Right. She's supposed to be on the inside.
Providing.
That's it.
Yeah. Providing unconditional positive regard to my significant other. I see my father do that. So guess what? I do that. Hell, even getting my hair cut. I got the same haircut as him. Why? Because I seen him do that. Like, there are a lot of things that I do in my life as a man because I watched my father do those things. And so for a lot of us, we don't have that good example of what right looks like because we are being inundated with what wrong looks like. Because what wrong looks like is fast. What wrong looks like is convenient. What wrong looks like is easy and doesn't require a whole bunch of effort.
And it's being celebrated.
Whereas
too. It's being celebrated.
And it's being celebrated and it's being pushed. Where right, it's hard. It requires consistent effort. It forces you to cut off certain relationships because you ain't gonna be moving as a high value man and you still hanging out with bums.
Right. Literal bums.
You just can't do that.
Bums.
Literal bums.
Living off their families.
So, yes. And so at the end of the day, the what people have to understand is this right here. Anything worth having is worth, 1, working for, and 2, sacrificing for. But the sacrifice and the work will eventually pay off. Because as you start to elevate, you will elevate into new circles with other high value individuals who will bring out the best in you. Because iron sharpens iron. They gonna help you out. It becomes like a circle where I'm feeding into you, you're feeding into me because, hey, like Unique alluded to this on one of her episodes where if you're going to be my friend, you can't be no dummy. If you're going to be my friend, you ain't going to be no failure.
Right. How you going to help me?
Like, exactly. Because what ends up happening is like you alluded to earlier, birds of a feather flock together.
Too dumb.
So you start to reflect badly on me because you're associated with
me.
And so, as I said before, when you see right being done consistently and you see it pay off, guess what? People tend to be willing to follow you. But this goes back to a conversation we had on the submission and relationships episode, where as a man, if I'm expecting a woman to submit to me or my significant other to submit to me, I have to give them something to submit to. I can't say, hey, here I am.
Just follow me.
Follow me. Right. Follow me. Don't ask no questions. Follow me. That's earned. That's not something that's just given blindly. If it's given blindly, you're a fool.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, as a man, and it's a high value man, a man with high standards, I have to execute and walk out the change I want to see in other people. That means doing the right things all the time. That means being in the right place all the time. That means acting appropriately all the time, not some of the time. Because, I mean, for me, do I want to do stuff all the time? No. Do I feel like doing something all the time? No. Do I feel like, like sometimes like somebody upsets me, I just want to go off on them?
Everybody
Absolutely.
does.
Right. But can I do that? No. Just because I want to do something doesn't mean I should or I can do something. So me being a person where, again, I saw what right looks like. It's now my responsibility to execute what right looks like. Because there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge, whereas stupidity is having the knowledge and choosing to do nothing with it.
Right.
When you have these young men and even these grown men in their big age have the knowledge and choose to do nothing with it, that is what makes them fools and makes them stupid. Whereas I expect children to do childish things because they don't know no better. They haven't lived enough yet. They haven't experienced life enough yet.
They can't even process at that point. Right?
They can't even process it. But that's where men like yourself, myself, that's where it's our responsibility to show younger men than us what right looks like. Because for a lot of us, we don't have those father figures.
And if you didn't have it, like I didn't have it, right? So I had to get around positive people, because the more I got around people in my younger age that weren't men of high character, high standards, weren't taking care of their kids, it rubbed off on me. And I started to see that change. When you get around people who have good values, good morals, good character, it rubs off on you. And in turn, you have somebody who's your accountability partner. You have to be around people who are accountable. When I was around people who used to be like, "Don't watch me, watch my moves," right? And they didn't want no accountability. Usually they were doing something illegal. Usually they were doing something underhanded. All right. When you're around people who say, "Hey, yeah, come on with me. Let me show you what I do. Let me show you how my family does this. Let me show you what my father taught me." You got to be around people who have some standards, some morals. If you're new and just got married, and this is perfect for the conversation, you all should have some 5-year goals, certain standards that you want to live by as your family is beginning. All right. I don't care if you're married for a year or 2 years. There's certain standards. You should have certain goals. You should have certain values, family values that you're starting to bring together as a couple and talk about these things. There should be open communication. Well, this is something I don't want our children to do. This is something I don't want us to get involved in, right? Those things need to be discussed. All right. It should be discussed even before you walk down the aisle. All right. One of the best things, because I'm impulsive. There's things I do impulsive. My wife will tell you that. But things that she saw before we got married, I told her, "Hey, these are some goals that I have that I want to achieve." She saw me start knocking them out. And from that point on, because at the beginning she wasn't sold. She saw me knock out a few and she was like, "All right, I get you. I get what you're saying. You might be a little impulsive, but if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. My word is my bond. My bond." She started to see that. Hey, if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. He has a certain amount of integrity. And I allow her to be, look, she was my accountability partner. If I didn't do it, she brought it up. "Weren't you say you was going to do that? Weren't you going to?" And I didn't get mad at her, didn't snap at her. I said, "Yeah, I did. And that means I need to get it done." Right? You've got to be able to have a certain standard, both of you two together. And that makes the couple a high value couple. People who
absolutely makes you a power couple.
That's where the power couple comes in, right? And I hate that people are so worried about money. The money's going to come if you do right anyway. I heard that when I was young.
Absolutely.
Right? But I didn't really believe it. When you do the right thing, the money's going to come anyway.
Absolutely. Every single time. I mean, and that's the thing that for a lot of us, like you look at somebody like former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama, like where they started from.
Right.
You know, you have to be resilient. You have to be resilient, and you have to have a spirit of
Yeah.
overcoming, because being resilient and persevering, you know, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be fallbacks, there's going to be trips, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be tragedy, there's going to be all types of things that's going to come up. But at the end of the day, you have to always have faith in the
Yes.
process. You know, for if you are claiming, if you listen to me, my audience members, if you are hearing my voice right now and you are claiming yourself to be high value and you feel like you ain't never gonna go through nothing, you lying. You are,
That's a lie.
that's a lie. You know, like anybody that has ever achieved anything will tell you they had to put in some work. Favor does not happen by accident. It doesn't. If you find yourself highly favored and you think and it's just things are just happening for you out of nowhere, you know, for
Right.
no reason, nah, that's a trap. That's a trap from the enemy.
You better run.
Favor doesn't it, you better run. You better put it down and walk away from it and run real quick, because favor doesn't happen by accident. Favor is gifted to those who are willing to put forth the effort and be consistent and be faithful. Keyword, faithful in what it is that they are doing, and being resilient and having that spirit of overcoming and perseverance. For a lot of us, like I said, what tends to happen is we tend to fall back on what's convenient and what's easy when things don't work out. I tried this new thing one time, and then because it didn't work, I just gave up. Most of us quit far too soon before our breakthrough happens. Just before our breakthrough happens, we give up. But it's sometimes when you have to push through, when it gets tough, when it gets hard, when it gets inconvenient, that guess what? Your deliverance has come upon you. And so the thing about it,
because
you well not even just even sweeter, but you appreciate it more.
There's more value to it. As you work for
there's more value to it. You not taking it for granted. You know, you truly bask in it at that point, because you worked hard with it. You worked hard for it with these hands. Just imagine how proud a farmer is to see his field bloom into a crop, a bountiful crop, after he was out there tilling that soil in the hot sun. You know, because he worked for that. And so when you work for something, yes, you reap a harvest. And that's where, for, like I said, for those of us as men, when we're talking about being high value men, there's a certain amount of work that you have to put in, regardless of what's going on. You have to be focused. You got to be dialed in. You have to be dialed in, because the thing about it though is there's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be things that are going to be a setback. There's going to be things that you trip and fumble on, or you trip and stumble on. There's going to be times where you don't feel like doing it and you want to give up. But at the end of the day, like I said before, you have to be dedicated to doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And this is easier said than done, because it's easy for Khalil and I to say, hey, do these things and you'll be fine. But the things that we're saying to do, these are things that we had to, one, either experience, two, watch and see and work out for other people, because things that tend to be like for sure things, people tend to emulate. When I see that this going from point A to point B is going to get me over here, I'm going to do that. Versus if I got to go out and discover it for my own. Because we want the sure thing, because the thing is, like, for a lot of us, we will miss certain blessings and close certain doors in our face out of fear.
Of course.
Out of fear. And sometimes what ends up happening is we sometimes do not balance having high standards and being high value with being real. Sometimes, you know, hey, we may have to adjust our expectations based off of what's actually real in front of us. It may not be for me to get to work a 6-figure job or be the owner of a multi-million-dollar company. It may not be in the cards for me. No matter how much I work, no matter, you know, how dedicated, how faithful I am, it may not be in the cards for me to do that. But it may be in the cards for me to be high value in other facets of my life in regards to being a spiritual leader, being a pillar of my community, being a father figure to those young men who do not have a father figure in their life. That may be what makes me high value.
Right.
And so when we keep, as we see in society nowadays, we keep pushing this narrative where if you ain't got no money, you ain't got no women, you ain't got no cars, you ain't got no homes, you ain't got this, you ain't nothing. You're less of a man. Or even when you hear, Khalil and I were talking about, and we're going to do an episode about this, reciprocity and accountability, where you hear women's, talk about how you hear some women, we're not going to say all women, you hear some women give this dating advice of it makes you soft or less than a man because you're not paying all of a woman's bills. You're not doing all of these different things. You're not paying all these, doing all this different, just throwing out money. And I mean, to me, at the end of the day, again, it goes back to there's things that are missing. We're equating it to a dollar amount or to tangible things. There are certain intangible things like, is this man going to treat you like you're supposed to be treated? Because if we're supposed to be in a relationship and we are supposed to be a unit, a family, husband and wife, or whatever you want to call yourselves, your family is trusting me that I got you. So by them trusting me that I got you, they're trusting that they don't have to worry about nothing. They don't have to worry about you ever, because for me as a man, I'm telling you right now, me and Khalil was having this conversation. As a man, my job is to provide provision and protection. So they know that if their daughter's over here, they know that she's provided for. They know she's taken care of. They ain't got to worry about that. I know that RJ. I know that no that's him.
Yeah,
him
he ain't gonna
over
have
there.
her homeless, shoeless.
He got this.
Foodless.
He ain't gonna have her homeless. He ain't gonna have her, hungry. He ain't gonna have her with no clothes on. He gonna be taking care of her. When you move in your purpose and you move and you are recognizing what your assignment is, as a high value man, people trust you without you even having to open your mouth. They when they see your name, like when people see my name, these two letters, RJ. They people don't even worry about it. They're like, oh, I know RJ got it. I don't gotta even worry about it. People go take a nap. People step away because again, my name has weight. My name has weight based off of my deeds, based off of my actions, based off of my character. People know that they can trust me. So there have been times where my clients was going to jail. I'm talking about going to jail. Not they was going to give you some pity pat citation or a ticket of some kind, or they're harassing you. They about to be locked up. But off the strength of my relationship with certain individuals and my character and what my name represents in the city, guess what? I was able to have a conversation with that officer and we were able to figure something out in order to get them the care that they need, but then also address whatever legal things they had going on versus them go straight to jail and then they go to jail and then they get lost in the system. But again, that came from me being consistently on assignment and doing the things that I'm supposed to do. And so again, people see that and people recognize that and it impacts other people. I mean, for me, I can't state that enough. I cannot state that enough. Like, and I tell my clients this all the time. We all have a bubble around us. We all have a bubble around us. I call it sphere of influence. There's an invisible bubble that surrounds you. 5 by 5. When you spend enough time with other people, your bubble overlaps with them, with theirs. So the things that they say and do impact you, and the things that you say and do impact them. So as, Khalil, Unique, and I have known each other for a while, the things that I say impact them and things they say impact me. There are certain ideas that I got from Khalil. There are certain ideas Khalil's gotten from me. There's certain ideas I've gotten from Unique. There's certain ideas that Unique has gotten from me. Because again, when you spend enough time with people, there's some even exchange of ideas and there's some education that's going on. When you are a high value man and you are walking in your purpose and you are doing the things that God has outlined you to do, because God intended for us to be the head, not the tail.
Right.
He intended for us to be the head, not the tail. And so if you expecting to be the head, not the tail, you're supposed to be the tribal chief, the head of the table. Mm-hmm. I have to move like every decision I make doesn't just impact me. It impacts my whole tribe. It impacts everybody sitting at this table breaking
And
bread
we
with me.
talked about this before when we talked about Deuteronomy 28. People, they love that quote,
Mm-hmm.
but they forget all the blessings came with obedience, right? But if you weren't obedient, there came curses.
Say that one more time.
If you wanted the blessings, you had to be obedient. If you weren't obedient, God said He was going to hit you with the curses, right? We want the blessings. That means you have to follow instructions. You have to do what's laid out. People don't want to do that. They want to skip steps. It doesn't come like that. You can't skip
Yes,
steps with this.
it doesn't. It does not. And that's where, as I said before, as a high value man, we represent the totality. We understand how the totality of our decision making and our behaviors impact not just us, but our
Yeah.
community as a whole. Because at the end of the day, especially when you look like people like Khalil and I, we don't just represent
Right.
ourselves. We represent everyone else that has any shade of
Mm-hmm.
melanin. And so for some people, this may be when they interact with us on a business level, we may be the only African American men that they ever have the opportunity to have a conversation with outside of good morning, good
Right.
afternoon, good evening. And so when I don't just represent myself, I am a brand ambassador for what it means to be an African American man. And so being understanding and stepping into my assignment as what God has created me to be as a strong African American man, guess what ends up happening? I open doors for other African American men that look like me. We may not always be from the same place, but people are willing to give them an opportunity because they know RJ. They're willing to give people an opportunity because they know
Right.
Khalil.
And look,
There's certain things that those men may not have to experience. Those young boys may never have to experience because they know Khalil, they know
but look,
RJ.
once that door is open, right, you have to put some effort to get through it. You have to show these people that hey, look, I'm a man of high value.
Exactly. Because being a man of high value is more than just saying that you're a man of high
Yeah.
value. Words are completely valueless and meaningless without actions behind them. And so at the end of the day, if you are listening to this episode, I hope you were taking notes on what it means to be a high value
Right.
man. Because at the end of the day, you can claim yourself to be anything. I can be a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. But if I'm going, I can claim to be anything. But if I don't walk it out, it means, assuming the title
Right.
means nothing.
No.
If I have to tell people I'm high value, then I'm
Right.
not high value.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. If you gotta tell somebody you in charge, you ain't in charge.
Because your name should ring bells.
People
By the time I
sense.
walk in that building, if you in charge, I'm gonna know you in charge because the people already done told me before I walked in.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Him
he
over
the
there.
one to talk to.
Yeah, him right there. Him right there. That guy over there, Khalil. Yeah, he in charge. He the one make all the decisions right here. Like there are some people, like I said, they have a presence about them. When you are truly, like I said, when you are truly high value, people feel at ease around you. They feel safe. They feel
Secure.
comfortable. And the reason why is because they don't have to worry about a goddamn gone thing. Because Khalil is here. And because Khalil's here, I ain't got to worry about it. Khalil gonna take care of it. Khalil got me.
I ain't gonna let you look. But you know what's the blessing about this, right? Is when you're around people like you said who are high value, man. There's certain things I don't worry about. I don't have to worry about certain things. It makes my life easier when I put myself around people who are high value, high character. I don't have to worry about police coming. I don't have to worry about somebody doing something illegal. I don't have to worry about somebody putting my license in jeopardy. That's why I used to like running with RJ. RJ will tell you when I was a case manager, look, what are we about to do? Because if I run with the other person, they might put my license in jeopardy. I can't trust it. You've got to be around people who are going to help you stay grounded and make better decisions. I want to be around somebody who has integrity. I can't be around people who are just going to go out there and move off of impulse. I already do that. I don't need no help to do that.
Yeah. I mean, because you have to understand, like when it comes to making the right decisions, Warren Buffett said it best. I never make decisions when I'm emotionally compromised. Your emotions don't put no clothes on your back, don't put no food in your belly, don't keep no roof over your head, don't pay no goddamn on
Mm-hmm.
bills. But you know what does? Work ethic does.
Yes. Yes.
Consistency does. Intentionality does. Those are key aspects of a high value man. Has nothing to do with what's in his pocket, because you can get to money, but you can't
You
always
can't.
get to intentionality. You can't always get to purpose. You can't always get to character, honesty, integrity, respect. You can't always build those things, but you can build to money.
You can get the
You
money
can
back.
build to an
Mm.
800 credit score. You can build to cars and homes and jewelry and clothes. You can get to those things, but you can't always build, somebody who is a decent
Yes.
human being. That's either in you or it's not. You were either shown that or taught that, or you weren't. No amount of money is going to make you a decent human being. No amount of tangible things is going to make you a decent human being. It's not, as we
Right.
saw with Diddy, where he's a
Yeah, and
billionaire,
look,
isn't he?
and it's not like we've seen this before too. Come on, it's all through politics. Look at all those politicians. We always find something they're doing illegal, right?
Yes,
Come on now. And so we hate
exactly. I
politicians,
mean,
right?
when you
But yet
when
we respect them for some odd reason.
yeah, I mean, and that's where, like I said before, money doesn't make you high value. What's inside of you is what makes you high value. The things that you stand on make you high value. That's what makes you high value. And so from two high value men to our audience members who are both either watching this or listening to this, don't be fooled by the razzle dazzle and the mirages and the illusions of what being high value is. My father used to say this all the time. It's not about what a person says; it's about what a person does.
Actually,
So at the end of the day, if you are around a person that claim, or you're listening to these people talk about, like when you listen to Fresh and Fit talk about, being a high value man and this woman is this and that, it's like at no point do you hear about them uplifting people. At no point do you hear about them building people. Or well, I'll say this: you never hear them uplifting or building women. You hear them attack, denigrate, degrade, disrespect women. Like, my thing is, we all have a past. We all have things that we're not proud of. We all have things that we would rather not everyone know, or that we did because we
mm-hmm.
just didn't know any better, because we were ignorant. But instead of showing people that there's a better way, they turn it into a circus, or some sort of
Right.
spectacle. And so you can't claim that you're a high value person when you are not building those around you, because they're older. And so the people that you're talking
Right.
to are younger than you. And so you are setting the wrong example for young men who are coming after you. And when you listen to these we'll use
Relationship
relationship,
gurus.
gurus, or the relationship therapists, to me, when you listen to how they talk about people,
Right.
the way that the way they disrespect people, that's not high value. Because if you have to build
Tearing
yourself up
people
by
down.
putting
Right.
other people
Right.
down, are you really high value? You're not. There's more than enough space in the sky for us to all
Everybody
shine.
can get a piece.
So everybody can get a piece. We ain't gotta, oh, you stupid, oh, you this, oh, you that. Like, I just don't see the benefit in tearing someone else down to put myself up. That's just me. And that's worked against me, at times, professionally, where I wasn't willing to do certain things. And so because I wasn't willing to do certain things in regards to
Right.
stab someone else in the back, or step over somebody, or kick they back in when I had the opportunity, I missed out on certain opportunities. But for me, I had to stay faithful to the process and understand that God, that door closed in my face, but God would open up other opportunities for me. And he did. Like the position
Mm-hmm.
I'm in now, You know, the manager that I had years ago, I mean, he hated me. Khalil worked there.
Yeah,
That man
he
hated
wasn't
me.
trying to let RJ do that.
That
Whoa.
that man hated, he hated me. He used every opportunity to try to kick my back in, you know, to bully me, to harass me, to pick on me, to treat me like dog doo doo. He used every opportunity he could to do that, to try to embarrass me some way, shape, or form. And look where we at now, baby. Look where
Right.
we at now. Why? You know, not because of anything that I did, but because I believed in the process. I had faith in God, and I stayed on the path, and I stayed doing the right thing. I stayed doing the right thing, and in doing the right thing, when the opportunity presented itself, people came looking for me. I
Right.
didn't have to go looking for it.
What,
People like you over there, RJ, we know you. We da da da. We need you over
look,
here.
and that's a door, right? That was open, and you weren't even knocking on it.
Absolutely
The
not.
same position,
That
right?
was
The
none of my
same
business.
position that 7 years ago, the other person didn't want you in it, right? Look at look at
Yeah,
God. So we really have to understand that when we do what's right, you get rewarded. You get rewarded.
absolutely. That's what makes you high value, is
And
doing the right
that's right.
things, standing on business, and staying consistent, and being faithful, and being obedient. Because, like Khalil said, you want the blessings, you got to be obedient. If you're not obedient, for a lot of us, we're then confused why our life's in
Listen,
shambles, why it's in chaos, and why it's in calamity. You get them curses. So we're going to end the conversation there. This is Try Not to Overthink It signing
Khalil.
out. I'm RJ. If you like what you heard or like what you saw, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, turn your notifications on. We drop content weekly. We can be found on YouTube as Try Not to Overthink It. If you would prefer to listen to us instead of watch us, I don't know why you would, because we're good looking people. You know, I can't speak for Khalil, but you know, my ass is gorgeous.
Like and
So, if you would prefer to, you know, listen to us, we can be found pretty much everywhere. You can get an audio file: Audible, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much everywhere you can get an audio file. Your mama's house, your
Mama's
daddy's house,
mama.
your girlfriend house, the your mama's mama, the dog house. There, you know, we can be
All over the
listened
place.
to. But also we have social media, Instagram, TikTok. Please check us out on those as well. If you're not already part of the tribe or part of the family, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and we will catch you in the next episode. Peace.